friends in the School of Research, and you are welcome to Dr. Kemi Asemota Academic Research Empowerment Forum. Today, we'll be focusing on supervisors' roles in postgraduate research, part 1. Why are we having part 1? It may take, if it's going to take a longer time to complete this presentation, we may stop wherever and we continue in the second part. That's why we have titled it part 1. And I have with me Dr. Godwin Asemota as usual. So let's go straight to the point. And I want to assure you that you have a lot to learn if you follow us on our YouTube channel, and you will add value to your academic endeavors. So let's proceed. The title again is Supervisors' Roles in Postgraduate Research, Part 1. What you need to know. What you need to know. In this presentation, we'll be focusing on these subtopics, which are who are research and thesis supervisors, the types of research and thesis supervisors, the roles of research and thesis supervisors, the types of research. Is it projects or thesis? And under thesis, we have monograph or publication. We are going to look at that. The research students. Then we are looking at, again, challenges associated with research and thesis supervision. And under these challenges, we are going to look at institutional rigidities, supervisors, and students. And also, finally, we will look at overcoming the challenges. So these are the subtitles that we are going to look at in the course of the presentation. Who are research and thesis supervisors? They are experts in their fields of discipline and possess expertise in the specific areas of student research. For example, if your supervisor or you as a student, you are in the School of Business, or you are in the School of Engineering, or you are in the School of Law, whichever discipline, your supervisor should have such expertise in that discipline that you are trying to investigate. I don't know if Dr. Asemota Godwin would like to add some input here.
Yeah, you are very correct, which is important because expertise is the core of research. Without expertise, you are a novice, and a novice cannot supervise a novice. So that's why you need expertise, you need some level of competence, you need some level of experience, and different methods of looking at a particular problem. Thank you, Dr. Luke.
Thank you. Let's proceed. So the next slide. In the next slide, we are looking at the types of research thesis, the types of research and thesis supervisors. Here we are having 3 main types of supervisors. 1, a researcher supervisor, the administrator supervisor, the politician supervisor. A researcher supervisor is someone, whether male or female, who participates, takes more pain in the research process, and has stricter requirements. It must be seen by the student as being, at times, you see, when a supervisor, a researcher supervisor is strict, because you have procedures to follow when you are conducting or investigating a problem, which in the process you want to provide solution to. Okay, so many students see their researcher supervisors as being too difficult or too hard to deal with or relate with, but they are the best for the student to learn. That man or a woman is a valuable resource that simplifies the process and brings out the insights that brings out the insight that makes for credible research so that everybody benefits. Okay? I want Dr. Godwin to add more light to this.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Lukem. When it comes to a researcher supervisor, they are experts, they are participators, and they have a reservoir, or they are reservoirs of methods of looking at problems in the area of their expertise. They give insights that are not common, and they have a way of opening the minds of students or their tutees or their mentees. Why? Because they have expert knowledge, they have special treatments to different aspects of the subject. And when they are requesting things from the student do not understand what they mean and why they are that strict, because research involves lives, it involves cost, it involves economics. So when you are careless, you are either killed or you kill others, and it's very expensive to make mistakes and have errors that can be avoided. That is the reason why researcher supervisors are strict, because they understand the implications of the cost associated with any research endeavor. That's why they are strict. That's why they are rigorous. That's why they are seem to be hard to the students. Thank you, Dr. Lukemi.
Thank you for your input on this. And you see, when students are allocated supervisors, is either you have a combination of these three types, or you have 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, or 3 and 1, especially at the postgraduate level, even the PhD level now, to be specific. You have some students will have 3 supervisors, while some will have 2 or 1, depending on the discipline, the topic, and the timing of the researcher for the investigation. So let's proceed to the administrator supervisor. And it's good for us as students to know these types of supervisors, because it will help you also to manage the supervisor, and also for you to be prepared. And also, if you have the ability to choose, you know who to choose after looking at the dossier and the curriculum vitae of such supervisors. Because if you are going to have up to 3, you must know their capacities and their subject areas, and also the experiences they have gathered over the years in conducting research. If they are politicians, for example, well, I pray that your supervisors, your 3 supervisors will not be politicians, because it has its own advantages and disadvantages. And also, your supervisors, the 3 of them will not be administrators, because these 2 has its own pros and cons. And the researcher supervisor is the real key, is the person that has the expertise and knows the nitty-gritty of how to conduct research. Why? Because he too is a researcher. He too is a researcher, is involved in research, is involved in investigation of areas that you have brought to him to guide you into. So let's be careful and take this particular issue very serious. The administrator supervisor, these are involved more with meetings. When we talk about administrator, you know about you know that they go about having meetings, going for conferences, arranging these meetings with the VCs, dealing with the deans, and if you are not careful, they may not have time for you. We are still going to look at the pros and the cons later. Okay. The administrator supervisors are involved more with meetings, and usually they are tired and exhausted to be able to give good counsel to the tutee or mentees or tutees or mentees who are the research students. Are we together? There is a lot of delay in presenting the feedback for meaningful work. If you have observed, I don't know the stage of the research you are undergoing currently. Maybe one of your supervisors is an administrator supervisor. You have given him a draft of your paper, maybe chapter 1 or your concept note, and you are finding it difficult to obtain feedback on time from him or her. The supervisor might be an administrator supervisor. He may not even be in the academics. He may not be teaching. He may not be a lecturer. He may be in the ministry. He may be in other organizations working in the secular area of his own field of endeavor. But now they want to involve him to supervise, but he's not in the mainstream of lecturing, which is, I'm not against them, because we need to, because most of them are passed through the university system, and they too have something to add. They have value to add to the supervision of academic students, especially the postgraduate students. So some of them find it difficult because of their tight administrative schedule and activities on a daily basis. So when you give them your draft work to look at, it's difficult for them to meet deadlines. You cannot even give them deadlines, but there's a way to do it, to manage your supervisor, so that you ensure that things get to you and not too delayed and not too, that will affect your progress. So there's a lot of delay in presenting the feedback for meaningful work back to the students. The students too are usually frustrated unless there is a co-supervisor who is a researcher. Who is what? A researcher supervisor. If the co-supervisor now, like we said earlier, that you may have a researcher supervisor combined with an administrative supervisor who is an administrator supervisor and also a politician supervisor. So unless you have a co-supervisor who is a researcher, there is a proviso or a caveat that you need to be aware of. Okay, you have to be conscious of this. Okay, so these are the two for now, and Dr. Asemota would like to talk more on the administrator if there's anything to add. The administrator supervisor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kemi. What you have said is correct. The administrator supervisor can be within the university or outside the university. So it's not mainly outside. It can be an administrator in the university system, but or in the institute of research. The problem with that man or that woman is that they are bogged down with administrative duties, which make them tired, suffer burnout, and are too encumbered with administration to be able to think and look at researches that they can think deeply and give you concrete, valuable feedback that will advance the work. That's the major problem with administrators. They are bogged down with meetings that are so many, numerous, cumbersome, exhausting, so much so that it becomes difficult for them to be able to think on academics when it's their time to look at. Then they have their own lives apart from administration and supervision, which is equally demanding. So all this creates problems and difficulties. That is why it's important that when you are making choices as a student, that you consider having researchers coupled with administrative supervisors. But sometimes it may be impossible that the administrator supervisor is the only expert in the field. So it becomes impossible to get another person who will be able to assist meaningfully in the supervision. So the student has no choice other than to be patient and able to work ahead and work more so that that student is able to produce more work, and that student should be able to be work independently at a high level of competence. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for that wonderful contribution. The next type of research and thesis supervisors is the politician supervisor. Okay, because you have mentioned the first two types, and this is the last one on the category of the types of research stroke thesis supervisors. So we are looking at the politician supervisor. Who is a politician supervisor? It's difficult to place because their students are not clear. The students cannot state categorically whether where the politician supervisor stands because of what? They don't seem to have deep knowledge of the subject. They are politicians, so to say. They can talk, but when it comes to the rigorous work of that area of investigation, they may be lacking some real expertise that is necessary to drive the research process. This puts the student in conundrum. This puts the students in quandary unless the student is exceptionally good and has gotten the tools of research elsewhere and has a researcher supervisor as a co-supervisor. So unless, like I said earlier, these types of research and thesis supervisors, they are good if they are combined and co-supervised. For example, you have a politician supervisor combined with the researcher supervisor, and you don't have a problem. Everybody now will perform wonderfully well because the researcher supervisor will be the main that is driving the most of the work, and then we have the input to add. Okay, so unless the student has a researcher supervisor as a co-supervisor, but if the student as only the politician supervisor, okay, it may be very, 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 very stressful and on him and also with the supervisor. So, but if the student, this politician and the administrator supervisor, the student is in a dead end. For example, if he has only the administrator supervisor and the politician supervisor and no researcher supervisor, let me tell you, this may be very challenging for the students and also the supervisors. So the administrator supervisor does not have time, and the politician supervisor does not have clear direction for the research, and this is worse if the main supervisor is a politician. So I want to believe that as the peer supervisors, the administrators, academic administrators that are involved in this allocation of supervisors should be sure to peer a researcher supervisor with an administrative supervisor or administrator supervisor, and also with the politician, so that they will not only have only the politician as the main or the administrator supervisor as a main supervisor while the researcher supervisor is missing. It will be a very challenging thing for the student at the end of the day. Please, Dr. Godwin, can you add more light to this?
Yeah, thank you very much.
You
What
throw
you
more
just
light,
said
please.
is important. That is why for the experienced administrators and politicians, they will usually suggest that pair this man or pair this woman with me. I will be the major, but this one will be. So you contact the younger or the research supervisor more than the administrator supervisor or the position supervisor, because a time will come in the research process that the position supervisor has his own role, that we will use politics to drive some complications in the research process. So that's why it's not that they are bad all through. They have their places in the research process because research is both rigorous and political. So you need a balance of these people in the administrative process. So that's why you need researchers who will bulldoze the research process. You need administrators that will handle the nitty-gritty of the administrative bottlenecks that may arise in the research process. Then you need a politician who will be able to play it in a way that the student can be able to go when there are complications. Thank you, Dr. Lukem.
So let's proceed. The next slide is looking at the roles of research stroke thesis supervisors. What are the roles? Despite the fact that they are experts in their fields of endeavor and in the subject matter of the investigation presented by the students, they are mentors, coaches, teachers, midwives, fathers, and mothers. How do we mean? When we talk about mentors, mentors have experience. They know about the pitfalls of the area you are looking at. They are practitioners and they have extra information that is not available to the students. So mentors, this is one of the roles that research supervisors or thesis supervisors should play in the research process or the research endeavor. I would like to run through, then Dr. Asemota Godwin would like to now throw more light on each of these roles. What about coaches? When they come as coaches, which they should have, all supervisors, whether thesis or research supervisors, should be able to have all these qualities of being a mentor, or being a coach, or being a teacher, or being a midwife, and of being a father and a mother, that if it's a man or a woman, to the student in question. Okay, so coaches are supervisors that have reservoir of research methods of conducting research, of how they bring to fore the research methods, how the research methods are combined or can be combined to bring out contributions to knowledge. Coaching students is really more than teaching. It is giving examples. This is how to. They guide you. If you do it like this, and that, they just guide and coach you. If this is the, and even they will give you examples, what journal articles you are supposed to read, what you are going to glean from there, how you are going to rewrite it in your own word and without confusion, and you still cite the necessary and relevant citations, okay, without committing the plagiarism or fraudulent practices in writing down your facts in the research process. And who are the teachers? That is the role that the teachers should play in this research process. Teachers are the mechanics in the research process. They provide step-by-step ways of achieving results that meet with standardized procedure. As teachers, these supervisors, as they play the role of teachers, as supervisors, whether research thesis supervisors or project supervisors, they regulate the standard of research methodology. They try to get the best out of their students, especially if they are interested in it, and they should be anyway, because teachers, an average teacher is a man or a woman that is interested in the student. Because if not, the teaching profession is not fashionable anymore. But if you are still there, then you have come to serve humanity and to be a blessing to humanity, which is a very key point here. So, and they are interested, they are knowledgeable, and they have experience to share with their tutees or mentees. And the midwives these are people, supervisors, that bring out delivery of what has been conceived over time, especially in years. You see, they come out with birthing the ideas to their students, and also encouraging the students to conceive and bring out those ideas and to the fore as they start their research at any stage the research. So if the research succeeds, then he or she is a good midwife. The midwife now brings about newly minted experts or future experts in the field who will be able to carry on with the tradition of supervision, because the student too is learning. The student is learning from that particular midwife supervisor, whether thesis or project. So, and before you know it, is building up capacity in the lives of those mentees or tutees. Okay, so the tradition of supervision is being passed down to the student, and the student himself, the researcher, has his own ideas too that he will share and build and add to the reservoir of knowledge that has been there. And also he becomes a member of the fraternity of academia and in the industry or commerce. And when on the field, the person can test those things that have been taught him in the process of the supervision. Okay. What about the role of being a father? We have supervisors that will act as fathers, really. Those matured, experienced, and those that have served in the capacity of supervision. And they have served as research supervisors, or even as administrator supervisors, or even as politician supervisors. Okay. They give instructions that must be carried out without deviations. The father's role is to give instruction. Wherever comes the father, whatever comes from the father whatever comes from the father has its own consequences if you deviate or you obey. But it's good, because why? We are not commanding them to obey, but the father has a way of presenting the instructions in such a way that it makes you, the students, the researcher, to understand. So it's not about enforcing something. It is the presentation that will bring illumination to your understanding and say, oh, my mind is open on this. That is the role of a good father in terms of this issue of the role of the supervisor. Okay, so those fathers that are very good and matured and have understanding, carrying the student along, the researcher in this regard, will be able to nurse and nurture the student in question. Then the mothers perform the role of the fathers, depending, because we are talking about the woman supervisor, the female gender. So they in addition to instructing too, they they try to interpret and nurture, you see, the student in question. And at this level, even if your supervisor would act as a father or a mother, you need to cooperate with them, because there is no how you disobey a father and a mother that you have the best from them. It's not possible. Dr. Godwin, you can take over from here.
Thank you very much. This was illuminating indeed, because you have explained it the way it should be done. You have explained who a mentor is. You have explained who a coach is, who a teacher is, and how they bring up the midwifery process so that it does not result in stillbirth. That what is midwives is brought to life. It is nurtured, it is treated, it matures, and it blossoms and leads to a tradition that is transgenerational. It does not die with the supervisor, it does not die with the student. And the student is to propagate the tribe, the family, and the race. So that is why when supervision and students are being carried out, those roles, responsibilities, it is to continue a tradition, to have a line of research which can be expanded. So that's why all these are very important. Thank you for telling us who a mentor is. A mentor is an advisor, he's a coach, he's a counselor, he's a guide, he's an instructor, he's a teacher, he's a tutor. So you can see the different bit, you see, they are all interwoven. So a coach, you have told us what they do. They practicalize the thing, and something they bring to you that you feel, why is this important? Because you must have stamina. If you don't have stamina, you cannot endure the process, because the research, especially progressive research, is not 100-meter dash. It is a marathon. It requires strength. It requires endurance. It requires time. It requires being steady and not fainting on the way. So you need a lot of shock absorbers, and you need to have practiced ways of doing things, of having endurance. So it's an endurance test which requires rigorous training. So that's why when you have mentors, you have coaches, you have teachers, you have tutors. Tutors, what do they do? Apart from giving you the standards, procedures, methods of doing things, they teach you step by step. If you do it this way, this is what you will get. You do it that way, this is what you will get. And why is even worse? If it's a master's project or thesis, the results are not too far from what is known. But the doctoral issue, nobody knows the answer. The student does not know the answer. They do not know the answer. So there's no answer. It's a puzzle. It's a bundle of answers and questions. So that's why these are difficult things to navigate. That's why you need cooperation, you need an understanding, you need mental capacity and endurance to be able to know that you must continue no matter how strenuous it is. And you talked about the midwives, you talked about the father, which is very important. Unless you are a father figure to somebody, the person will not understand. You need the father to go further, to go further, because you are going to stand on his shoulder to see more. If you don't have a father, you are on the ground.
And if you are on the ground, you are within the crowd. If you are within the crowd, you cannot be visible. So that is why you need a father to go further, to see further, to see higher, to see new vistas, and be able to comprehend more things. And they can guide you because of experience and exposure. So that's why it's important that these people are in your lives. Then you need a mother, because it is that mother that will bring some nurturing things to it. And sometimes all you have is women as your supervisors or men as your supervisors. It's only in some occasions that you have a male and a female, or one male, two female, or in any other capacity that it may be. So that's why it's important that no matter how it is, all these relationships need to be properly handled with wisdom, with care, and decorum. Thank you, Dr. Lukemi.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let's proceed. The next slide talks about the types of research. It talks about research project, research thesis, and under research thesis we have monographs and publications, and then under publications we have prior research and prior publications. Dr. Godwin will talk more on this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lukemi. Research projects. Any work you do is a project. Once it is research, it is called research project. What differentiates between a project and a thesis? They are essentially the same in the way they are conducted. A project done is internally controlled, but a thesis requires an external examiner, at least one external examiner, and it usually takes a longer time to conduct, to defend, and to meet other regulations. So when it's a research project, it is between the supervisor and the department and the faculty or school. So it's within. So that is why it takes shorter time, because the people involved are available, they are locally sourced, and the student is within the group. I can easily meet with the different groups. That is one. When it comes to thesis, as I said earlier, it involves at least one external examiner to look at it for standardization, for benchmarking, and for meeting with regulations. So we talked about monograph. That is another part, which means it is one project having different parts like introduction, the literature review, methodology, results,
Analysis and
findings, contribution to knowledge, recommendations, and all that. It can be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or more chapters, depending on the nature of the research itself, the area of research, the whether it is in the arts, social sciences, or medical, depending on what they have. So it is one theme, it goes like that. And it is presented, it is defended, and the results is released, do corrections, and submit in the approved format. Then the second one is by publication. When it comes to publication, there are two kinds of publication. They are called prior research publication. That means they comprise articles that have been published in journals or appear in conference proceedings, or both. That one is you present it as examination material before what you have done before applying for the registration in the program. That is prior publication. Then there's another one which is prior publication, but is only concerned with the researches done during registration. So that is different between the two. They are all prior publication. One is whatever was published before registration. Then the other one is it is only the ones in published during the publication.
During the period of studentship.
Yes, during the period of studentship, thank you very much. That will be considered for examination. It will comprise those published and are accepted, and unpublished put together. The published will be the main, the unpublished will be as appendices. So, and depending on the number of unpublished, you have the one of published, so it will now come in 2. So, and it will be examined, and after that, then the degree is awarded. I believe I'm clear.
Yeah, you are very clear.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So much for the clarity. And I believe our friends out there in the School of Research will benefit immensely from this presentation, because the issue of supervisor and supervision and students have been an issue. It's now becoming very challenging. Students complain about supervisors. Supervisors as well complain about their students. So, and we have looked at this issue that we need to make some clarity on this issue, because some students are ready to fight their supervisors. Even some supervisors are ready to reject their students, even in the middle of the road, so to say. So I believe when we listen to this, let's share it with friends that are conducting their research studies currently, and also with other researchers out there, because there is no how you can conduct a research without being supervised. If you know it, then there is no longer a research that will be investigated for everybody to look at, or somebody to guide you and put you through. So, and no one is a custodian of knowledge. Once you have registered to embark on an academic endeavor, you need to humble yourself under the supervisor for you to have thorough supervision, and that is the essence of academic process. One of the protocols that you have to meet for you to be able to graduate in the program. Okay, so let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, we are looking at the research students, and this is the core of the matter. Okay, because without the students, there is no supervision and there will be no supervisors. Okay, so if there are no students, then there's no need for what? Supervision. vision of supervisors. Why student? Because without research student, there are no supervisors and no supervision. Okay, one is a precursor to the other. The students must be available. They must have completed their coursework, depending on at what point the supervisors will need to be allocated. So it may be at the entry point in this when you have been granted admission to the university, or at during your coursework, immediately you have completed the coursework, and then maybe at the concept stage. You see, the universities have different policies that guide their supervisors and the allocation of the supervisors to students. So let's look at research students. We have three categories mainly of students. The standard excellent student, so to say, is in quote, the first class and the second class upper students. We group them together because we believe that they are above, they are the leading class of students when we look at the performance of such. And the second type of students, research students, the average students, the second class lower students, and the weak, what people call weak students. Because really, if you can embark on a PhD program, you are not a weak student. Yeah, but Dr. Godwin will throw more light on this then, on this research student, as I complete a few things on this. Then the weak students, these are the third class or pass students. Okay, they are the third class or pass student. The excellent student in coursework. Okay, let's look at the first one, that the so-called the standard excellent students. The excellent student in coursework, they perform in coursework because it depends on how they master the subject matter. Some, they may learn by rote learning. You know, everybody has his own styles of learning. So some are brilliant, some are they have a way of interpreting what the teachers or lecturers have taught. Only few of them are good researchers. Very few are excellent in research. Why? Because research is difficult, is different from memory work. That's what I'm saying. You see, it's not, some people, okay, it's easy to pass coursework than to embark on research, because research is rigorous. The research process takes everything, stresses you. Your thinking level will be saturated to the extent that you will know that you are doing research, really. Okay, so research is different from memory work and memory, yes, memorizing things, reading and understanding. But this one, you read, you think, what are they saying? How can I critique this? What are the new areas the new areas I can look at from, on this matter? Apart from this line of thought, what are the other areas? Because you have to look from the side of it, the left, up, down, you shake it up, and that is the real thing. And then now trying to now write your own new ideas concerning what has been written for years, theories that you can debunk. If, especially in the science field, maybe you conducted some experiments and then it's now negating what has been done, you have to argue your case. These are different areas that people, you may be brilliant in coursework, you may not have the capacity to conduct research. So it is not what has been set or standardized. It requires ingenuity, it requires excellence, it requires original thinking outside the box. It's not, oh, I have to read this book, then you follow the note that your lecturer gave you. No, research endeavor, research process entails new vistas, new ways of looking at that particular thing that you are investigating, where many people, thousands of researchers have done in the past, but your own area now, you are looking at one aspect of that thing that somebody or all those studies or scholars have conducted have not looked into. That is that area that you want to look into, because you want to investigate and you want to find solution to that. Okay, so in most cases, Supervisors give high marks to the so-called excellent student in research, not because of that research, but because of previous work, and which may be which may uh, uh, we may ascribe as a recency error or halo effect. Okay, so I want Dr. Godwin to talk more on this.
Thank you very much. You have explained much about it, because most of the time, like you just said, the people who give marks, even when it comes to giving um, research awards, they are usually given to students who have marks in coursework, because the students have been having higher marks. Everybody want to say, it's supervised by so and so, it's supervised by this person, so let us give the person higher mark. As if, but when you look at the content of the work, you do not be better than somebody who had a second class upper or even second class lower, when you look at the content and the quality of the work. So that's why most times the prizes given for best research done, in most cases, it is biased based on recency and halo effect. So thank you very much. That was why you are saying that from majority of the people who have done much well in researches are those who are seen as average students, those in lower and second class upper, and even those you think they are weak because they cannot cram or memorize. Though they are good when it comes to handwork and doing research that is very credible, sound, and original. So they think maybe something happened. Maybe they were sick, or there were other extraneous values or things that happened in the past that made them not to perform well during coursework, either because of money or sickness, somebody died in the family, or things like that will make them to perform poorly. But when it comes to research, that's why it is good that when you are considering people for researches, that those who are recruiting students should not always consider high marks, because in most cases you see that most people who got high marks, they don't continue in academics. Why? Because the rigor involved, they cannot sustain it. Two, because they have been praised that they have done so well, it enters their heads and think that things will always flow in their favor. So that's why it is good to be able to have supervisors who have said are interested in the students and encourage them to look at ways of doing things better than they felt, so that they can improve and become excellent and become resources that you can write, you can talk about, that this person has improved because of the facilities available, the time given, and the counseling done, so that they can improve on what they have been doing and have confidence in themselves. Thank you very much, Olukem. Yes, yeah, I've talked about the weak students, so I'll put them together so that they can go.
Thank you so much, our friends out there listening to us. We need to end this part one here at this juncture. Then part two, we focus on challenges associated with research and thesis supervision. We are going to look at institutional rigidities like you have seen here. We are going to look at the supervisor's challenges Students themselves, they do have challenges. Okay, and then how do we overcome these challenges? Thank you for listening. So please be on the lookout for the next presentation to be continued. Okay, thank you. Please feel free to subscribe, to comment, and to share. When you have a need to ask for clarification and more on how to progress in your field of investigation, please do not hesitate to contact Dr. Olukemi Asemota, and that is the email there. So we'll stop here. Thank you so much. I don't know if Dr. Godwin would like to say a few words in closing.
Thank you very much. You have done well.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Godwin. So we are saying thank you so much. We meet again in part 2 of this, and we still have a lot to roll out, that we are going to look at concepts. How do we write concept notes for research? What are the nitty-gritties of writing concept and every other thing that has to do with research? And when you go to Dr. Kemi Asemota Inspirational Television channel on YouTube, we have rolled out some research areas and methodologies on the how to choose a topic, how to present your how to defend your PhD thesis, how to design your research objectives, and many more. Just go to the YouTube and then you will find out other things that have been done, and we continue to develop those areas that have become challenging to researchers and to students at postgraduate level. Thank you, and bless.